Korea was ruled by Japan from 1910 until the closing days of World War II. In August 1945, the Soviet Union declared war on Japan as a result of an agreement with the United States and liberated North Korea of the 38th parallel. U.S. forces subsequently moved into the south. By 1948, as a product of the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States, Korea was split into two regions with separate governments. Both governments claimed to be the legitimate leader of Korea, and neither side accepted the border as permanent. The Civil War escalated into an open warfare with North Korean forces supported by the Soviet Union, and China moved into the south to unite the country from the 25th of June 1950.
I didn't like wars, and I just wanted the war to end, and I really didn't have anything big to do with it.
People were killed. It was a lot of fighting on land.
On that day, the United Nations Security Council recognized this North Korean act as an invasion, called for an immediate ceasefire. 21 countries of the United Nations eventually contributed to the defense of South Korea, with the United States providing 88% of the UN's military personnel. After the first 2 months of conflict, South Korean forces were on the point of defeat, forced back to the Persian perimeter.
Technically, it was called a police action, and it was going when I first went in, and then it ended during my first year, I think.
I remember seeing pictures of soldiers being killed. That's what happened.
I could sit here and tell you stories how political it really is, but it is political, there's no doubt about it.
An amphibious UN counteroffensive was launched at Incheon and cut off many of North Korean troops. Those that escaped, enveloped, and captured were rapidly forced back north all the way to the border with China at the Yulao River, or into the mountains interior. At this point, October 1950, Chinese forces crossed the Yalu and entered the war. Chinese intervention triggered a retreat in the UN forces, which continued until mid-1951.
The North Koreans were strong till the end. As a matter of fact, I even hate to say this about our country. We didn't win. We just quit fighting.
It's sort of like they want to forget what happened, because you can't get him to really say what he did in the war.
After the reversals of fortune, which saw Seoul change hands 4 times, the last 2 years of conflict became a war of attrition, with the front line close to the 38th parallel. The war in the air, however, was never a stalemate. North Korea was subject to a massive bombing campaign. Jet fighters confront each other in the air-to-air combat for the first time in history. In September 1950, and Soviet pilots covertly flew in defense their communist allies.
Whatever the enemy deserved, they were nasty, and a nasty enemy. They treated our servicemen bad, and what they got with that bombing is what they deserved.
Because you see a lot of people, guys and girls that were in the service during the war, and not just the Korean, but all of them, and they come back and they don't like talking about the war. They'll talk about their life in the service, but not about the war.
The fighting ended on the 27th of July, 1953, when armistice was signed. The agreement created the Korean Demilitarized Zone to separate North and South Korea, and allowed the return of prisoners. However, no peace treaty was ever signed, and the two Koreas are technically still at war. Periodic clashes, many of which are deadly, have continued to the present.
We just quit fighting. There was no winner, there was no loser, but the Chinese were helping the North Koreans. It was bad for the servicemen coming home. It was bad for the families who lost their sons. Look at Korea today. It's the same as it was then. We have military men at the 38th parallel. They have men at the 38th parallel. And they're ready to fight any moment.
There was no ending of the war, actually. It just ceased fire. And that was the end of it. It was a war that a lot of people lost their lives over for nothing.